Well, today's July 9th, 2025, and so I've already completed one day of my fast, and I'm into the second, and just wanted to show you. This is this is some of the stuff that I watched on YouTube recently. It says previously watched Bob Dylan, My Back Pages, the song and video Tweeter and the Monkey Man, Jackie Venson, Back to Earth, and Harlem Boogie from something Delta Days. There's more on there, but that's just all that fits on the screen. But I've been I don't know why I have been looking at a lot of other stuff. I don't know why it shows that stuff for. But anyway, maybe. I listen to Tweeter and the Monkey Man a lot. I like it. But anyway, I also been listening to this program on YouTube called like Bible stories or something like that. Oh, the Storyteller, from the Storyteller or something. Anyway, today I listened to one about the Apostle Paul, and it had to do with how he died. He died as a martyr, and he was beheaded by Nero. And I used to actually have a book about all the martyrs. I'm pretty sure all of Jesus' disciples were martyred. I mean, I know John, the apostle who wrote the book of Revelation, well, he was burned in wax, oil or wax, I can't remember, one or the other, but he was burned alive in a liquid like oil or wax. And Peter, of course, they made reference to Peter for some reason in this story about Paul. He was crucified. They didn't crucify Paul because he was a Roman citizen, and so his citizenship protected him. So he had his head chopped off. And all the other disciples. I really can't remember all of them anymore, how they died. But like I said, I used to have a book and it talked about all of them. Anyway, Nero was a tyrant, and there was talk, and this stuff comes from stuff that's been written down. It's amazing how all that long time ago, and we still have the actual records and stuff. A lot of times, what they did, they had what you call it, scribes. Okay, they have a printing press. That didn't come till like I don't know, like 15 or 1600. And the King James Bible was made on one of them earliest printing presses. I mean, not when it was actually made. I mean, it was made by the order of King James, who said that if they didn't all agree on the translation, they're going to be killed. Like, when people used to believe in the divine, and they used to really believe like in mystical and magical and stuff could rock the world. And stuff like that still does rock the world. America, for example, like I remember, President Biden said that America was the only country built on an idea, the idea of liberty and freedom. Freedom of religion and freedom of, like not living under tyranny. And and President Reagan, he made the statement popular. I don't think it originated with him. Oh, it originated from the Bible, actually. That America is a shining city set on a hill, right, for all the world to see. And that actually comes from a quote in the Bible. One of the gospel writers, I think, attributing the words to Jesus. He said that the kingdom of heaven is like a shining city on a hill. Either that, or you as a person are a shining city set on a hill. I can't remember. Haven't remembered my lessons. But I was thinking, about grace and tyranny. Before Paul got his head chopped off, he was imprisoned. He was in chains, for a couple of years before Nero decided to execute him. And he said, that he was in chains for Christ. And maybe he could have avoided execution if he would have. It's kind of the same story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They would not bow, they would not bend, they would not burn. And they got thrown into the fiery furnace, and then by King Nebuchadnezzar, and then they were looking in the furnace, and there were 4 people, and they only threw in 3. See, that's a story in the Old Testament, and but anyways, he made an edict, and Nebuchadnezzar did, everybody had to bow and worship, I don't know, to worship the king or worship a god or what it was. And again, I can't remember everything, but I remember the gist and the point. And Paul was like that, I mean, he could have probably gave allegiance to the king or to the emperor, whatever they call him, Nero. I guess Nero wasn't called a king; he's an emperor of Rome. And but he wouldn't submit. A part of a normal person would think, well, I really want to die for an idea. Not like, Paul, he wrote most of the New Testament. I mean, and from Paul is who we get the concepts of, like, of grace, for example. I mean, Jesus talked about faith. Your faith has made you whole. But Jesus never talked about grace, or really never did exposition on what everything meant, like what his life meant. And he didn't really talk about justice. I'm not talking about justice for people. I'm talking about like divine justice, like for sin. It has to be a sacrifice for sin, all like that. Like, see, some of that stuff, there are ideas that kind of cut me across, kind of like that Masato knife. Cut me across. Sometimes I can't accept it, When I started backing away from my religious fervor, that was because I had already I'll just tell you, like, okay, let's see what time is it, 10 minutes here. Alright, I'm just going to tell you my story real quick, like in a nutshell. Okay, so I got healed of epilepsy. My mom, I repented of my sins in the 3rd grade, cried at the altar, and cried for many, many days after that for my own sin. And I was in 3rd grade. And then, I wonder if I think on the next one, because I don't know where my book is that I made. I don't even know where it is right now. So. Yeah. Anyway, it's the one that I kept. I wrote my mom a letter from my dad's house when I was young. Like, I don't remember, maybe like, I don't know. I know I got written on the letter what the date was. It was in the 70s, of course. I was born in 62. I don't know what grade I was in. Maybe like 4th grade. But anyway, I'm gonna look for it. I'm gonna read it. And I think I'm gonna use that. Talk a little bit more about my mom and what she wants you to know. One of the things is that you will have the desire of your heart. You will have it. And you will have it as you believe. As you will have it, it will be. Oh, all right. In the end, I don't know. I think that's what she's saying to me. Reminding me and telling me. Just saying. That's what seems to be being said to me. Anyway, no, I became a Christian early on, and then I got older, started, I don't know, getting into drugs, then I was always on the fringe, stratus of society that I was involved in wasn't like very high up the ladder kind of deal. And I'm not saying I accompanied myself with down and outs or anything like that. I mean, I'm talking still like early, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, like that, Well, when I was, I don't know, okay, my friend Wayne Moratz came on a bus from Wisconsin to Indiana. I didn't tell my dad or anything. I hit him. He got on a bus, and that'd be like I was visiting my father in the summertime, and this had to be like, 7th grade, something like that, Something like that, 7th grade, I think, maybe. I mean, and we were at that time, we were doing acid, and I remember one day, we hit in the field, we skipped school. No, I was in school, actually. I was still in school. It wasn't summertime because we skipped school. And we hid in the field all day long. The weeds were about like a couple feet high, maybe 2-3 feet high. Every time a car would go by, we'd get down, hide. That way, and we're just tripping all day long. Well, you know, I mean, drugs were actually pretty safe back then. I mean, you didn't get like, you know, fentanyl and stuff like that's gonna kill you. But I mean, you know, and then I know I was 16. I was doing a lot of drugs, and combined drugs with alcohol, downers and uppers, and you know, like alcohol. One day I got so sick, I thought I was gonna die. I was working. I had a job at a pizzeria, making pizzas and cooking them. You know, sometimes I make them, sometimes I be the cook. You know, tending the oven. You know, the same person that's putting the meat and the sausage and the sauce and all that on the bread. You know, is not the same person that's, you know, tending the oven. And I had burns all on my arms and everything. I did everything, but I was so sick I couldn't even lift one of them racks of dough. And I couldn't go to the bathroom. Like, I didn't go to the bathroom for like a couple of days. Not number 1 or number 2. I thought I was gonna die. I really thought I was gonna die. And I'm praying. God, if you let me live, I will never do drugs again. Hey, if you let me live, I will never ever do drugs again. Well, I lived. I did quit doing drugs for about a year. And I remember one time, you know, when we were tripping on acid, me and my brother, I mean, I might have mentioned this, we thought the rapture took place. I remember another time, man, one of our buddies, his brother had already been killed in a motorcycle accident, and he was on my brother's motorcycle. My dad got him a Kawasaki, I don't know if it was 100 or 125, but he was screaming up and down that road on that motorcycle without any lights, pitch black. I thought he was gonna kill himself, man. He was lost. His brother was going 140 mile an hour down Highway 41, and I'm pretty sure it was Highway 41 because that's really the only highway I can remember there. But going 140 miles an hour in this semi truck didn't have any rear lights, and he smashed right into the back of that semi trailer, killed him. Yeah. So, you know, then I got a little bit older, you know, a little older than 16, and I turned my life back over to Jesus and get one more time. And I had a lot of albums, vinyl albums. Every week when I would get paid, I would buy an album. That would be my, you know, treat for me. I mean, I knew I had to like pay for my car, I'd pay for this, pay for that, but I would always buy an album. You go pick one out from the Kmart or whatever. I think it was Kmart way back then. But I had all kinds of albums, good albums. You know, like Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, you know, Three Dog Night, Marshall Tucker, you know, Leonard Skinner. I really like Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath. I listen to a lot. Aerosmith, and Eddie Van Halen. I had a dream, laying on the couch, my mom's couch, and when we lived, not actually far from here, just down here on Blue Jay Avenue, and not even far from where I live right now. But I woke up from a dream. I seen what appeared to be like a picture of the devil, real big, a picture of the devil over Eddie Van Halen, and playing, hands over hands like that, playing the guitar, Well, that was a dream, So look, this is when I become a Christian again. I knew I had to give up. I had to give up stuff, I had to quit smoking marijuana, I couldn't remember stuff. Smoking too much pot and couldn't remember stuff. Couldn't even remember my friends' names when I went to school in the morning. I didn't know them all year long and couldn't remember their names or anything. Well, I knew I had to once again rededicate my life to the Lord. I burned all my albums. I gathered them all. I took my whole stack, put it in a metal drum, in the backyard, poured gasoline on them, burned them all up. Today, I wish I never would have done that, because, I understand the figment of your imagination sometimes, Like, I don't think Eddie Van Halen is, like, possessed by the devil or nothing. But, sometimes you can go on a trip in your mind, man, and believe stuff that figment of the imagination. That's why I say, so sometimes, like, I don't know. I mean, I know I have a strong imagination. Maybe it's true. Some people say, die, and go into a hole in the ground. That's it. That's not my persuasion, though. I don't necessarily think that, because myth has been so powerful in my life. I mean, look, I used to have epilepsy. Then I got healed of epilepsy. And then later on, the doctor told me I still had epilepsy. So go figure. I mean, what is it? I mean, I never had any more seizures. I guess that's what matters. Maybe the environment changed. Maybe my mom becoming a Christian, the energy. Maybe all the energy changed, I don't know, Dad became a Christian too. Maybe the field of energy healed me. Or something like that, I don't know. Who knows? Some people say, but it's better to be safe than sorry. I mean, live a good life, because in the end, if there is going to be a judgment and you're going to be held accountable for everything you do, good or bad, in this life, it's better be safe than sorry. Try to live a good life. Look, some people are tyrants, and I don't know what they believe about the afterlife. I don't know what Nero believed. I think maybe he believed that he was God. A lot of the emperors back then, they kind of actually, it's what you call, it's different than egomania. It's there's a word that when a person actually kind of starts thinking that they're like God or something. I can't remember what the word is anymore. Lucifer, they say, wanted to be like God. Anyway, so I'm just saying my story. So then I became a Christian, again. And I suffered persecution. My best friend, hated me for becoming a Christian. And we didn't party no more together. I told him, man, I'm a Christian now. I gave my life to the Lord. I'm not interested in, getting high, stuff like that. So, I got on a bucket one time in the smoking area, because back then, you could smoke at school. We had an actual smoking area. The students could go in the back and smoke at lunch break, or whenever they were allowed to go there. But I there was a bucket out there. I just put the bucket upside down, stood on it, and I remember, because I had been reading a lot and studying a lot, why do you seek the living among the dead? It was during Easter time. And I just decided, well, you know what? I'm just going to get up and start preaching. And I did, on top of a bucket. Why do you seek the living among the dead? I don't remember ever what else I said after that or anything, but that was the verse that I was speaking from, because that's at the resurrection of Jesus. That's what Jesus said. Why do you seek the living among the dead? I can't remember the whole context of that. I have to read that again here too. But so then I went to Bible school. I wanted to actually be like a minister and stuff, and then I got married and I was working. I got hit by a forklift, and it was after Bible school, after I graduated from 5 years of undergraduate school. My son Adam was born. His mom gave him his name Adam. I gave him his middle name James. Same thing with Amber. I gave Amber the name Charisse, and her mom gave Amber the name Amber. I added Charisse because Charisse is a Greek word, except it's transliterated Cherise, but the CH is actually pronounced with a like that, Charisse. And the meaning is grace. Is what the Greek word is translated, and it means grace. And grace has to do with power and elegance and like the grace of life. There's a theological concept of grace that we are saved by faith through grace. That not of ourselves, not of works, lest any man be able to boast, but we're saved by grace through faith. And grace is like a little bit like mercy. See? But grace is a different nuance, and I chose the word grace for the verbal. Like you have adjectives and verbs and stuff and nouns for the verbal sense. Anyway, this is a side note. But and Amber was going to be born, and I had to do something because I got hit by that forklift, and I quit that job. But then I didn't have any insurance. I didn't know that if I quit my job, I wouldn't have no more insurance if I got a new job. I got a new job, but the insurance didn't cover the pregnancy of my wife, Adrian. And so, I joined the Navy. I kind of always wanted to be in the military anyway. It was a good opportunity, a lot of benefits. I didn't have no other way to pay. We considered a midwife for $400. But she was too afraid to go through with that idea. And so I just joined the Navy. And they took care of that for me. They took care of the, not that like my daughter being born, but, in a sense, I mean, they took care of that challenge for safety, So, in case. And it seems to me that was a good choice because I wasn't there with my wife at the time, Adrian, whenever I was born, because she got born in a military base, and I was in A school. This is right before the Gulf War started. And I remember that there was some kind of a problem. It had taken longer than expected for Amber to be born. But he was born May 1st. Must have been the day that the stars in the heavens dictated. Anyway. So then, time rolled on. New challenges presented themselves for me, and I had my dream about being forsaken. You know, the sharks surrounded me when I was on the aircraft carrier, and then I found kind of like a new kind of faith. You know, kind of hard to explain, but it was real, and really the same faith I have now. And yeah, I found in abandonment, I found faith. I don't know. And I hear the Buddha, you know, on his conditioning, on his supporting conditions talk, you know, he's saying that what is the supporting condition for I think it's for faith. And the answer, monks, should be suffering. So out of suffering comes faith. That's a paradox. All right, you know what? I'm at 31 minutes. That's it. Okay, that's my story. All right, bye.